All right, welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Raphael Calamat, alongside, as always, Michael Bleakley, who's in Vancouver, in Canada today. It's family day, so we're at home. We're not in studio, but we have a very special guest, as usual. I'm thrilled to talk to Hope Barnett from the LPGA. But before we get started, this weekend has been absolutely amazing. We have Bernhard Longer at the age of 65 getting his 45th Champions Tour win. It's even hard to believe and to say. And since it's so early in the season, he might actually get win number 46. Of course, John Rahm at Riviera, big news, going back to number one at the official world golf ranking. Lydia Ko clinches her third victory in the last four starts in Saudi Arabia at the Aramco International. And like I mentioned, we have a very special guest, Hope Barnett, Texas A&M alumni, content creator, and senior content creator at the LPGA. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Hope.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. We've got so many interesting guests coming on, and the LPGA is just exploding. And I first noticed you, Hope, on doing those post-round interviews and going around talking to our Brooke Henderson after a wonderful win, right? Over at the Hilton Grand Vacations opening tournament. Tell us how you got involved in content creation and golf.
Yeah, so I actually, starting in January, I have officially transitioned into a new role at the LPGA too. I'm actually a full-time host now, still doing a lot of content creation, all sorts of stuff like that. All things content has my name written all over it. So I got into golf when I was in college at Texas A&M. It's a funny story, actually, my ex-boyfriend played college golf and I would go to his tournaments and I was like, this is so fun. I was like, I need to start playing. I played like every sport growing up. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start playing. Like I can do this, whatever. So started playing, realized it is nowhere near as easy as it looks, but working on it. So it's been a lot of fun kind of getting into golf. I interned at the PGA Tour in college and then realized that that's kind of the sport I wanted to stick with. And so worked at a TV station when I graduated in news for 6 months. It was great, taught me a lot, but I didn't want to be in news. And the LPGA reached out to me and I ended up here. So going on I think my fourth season, which is crazy to even say, but yeah, so went from a senior content producer to now a host, but I do all sorts of stuff like that. So
Excellent.
Amazing.
What's that like day to day? Like tell our audience, like what do you do when you arrive? Like aside from hosting, but like behind the camera, like what's your day to day activities?
yeah, so I think, so I've only worked now one tournament in my new role. So it's been, learning curve, but it's been a lot of fun because before I was hosting and doing stuff on camera, but now I get to kind of focus on it full time. So we launched a show called LPGA Now. So it kind of consists of, if someone wants to know what happened on the LPGA that day, they don't have, they know where to go, hopefully starting now. They can go to our YouTube or Facebook or whatever it may be and kind of watch that. So my job consists of, following the leaderboard, watching the broadcast, figuring out what's happening throughout the day, figuring out the main storylines, and also just getting a lot of like behind the scenes content. So whether that's doing interviews or going out on the range and like chit-chatting with players or following them for a few holes, I definitely can't complain. I'm watching golf
great.
for a living and being able to kind of recap every day. So
What kind of team do you have working with you to produce the final product?
Yeah, so right now it's we've always had a pretty small team. We're small but mighty over at the LPGA, but we've actually been adding a bunch of people to the team and we're about to start adding a lot more people to just make the product even better. So lately, at this last tournament, I worked with my colleague Andrew Beal. So he would shoot, edit everything. I would script, I would write the whole script, interview, we would do everything. So small team, but it's been good so far. So we're about to hire a couple more people on to kind of help with that process and make it a little more seamless and not as crazy throughout the day.
Well, Hope, I'm excited because, watching LPGA now, the episode 1 came out, and I did see you interview somebody in that episode. I saw you in the background. It was really cool to see. But we live in a world of content creation. Things have changed drastically in the game of golf with all these content creators on YouTube, YouTube professionals, and the LPGA is taking advantage of that as well. And it's exciting to see, because I would have hated not to see all that kind of new content, because you get to know the players. It develops relationships between the viewer and the player. So then it also creates that new fan base. Like, I became a fan of Gemma that way, right? And everybody knows Nelly Corda, and people get to know Brooke Henderson. I thought it was very cool to see the pre-round and post-round things that go on, the things it takes for a player to travel. And we saw that in full swing as well, right? In full swing, you're seeing the whole gamut of the PGA Tour and all these exciting players and the different storylines that happen. So I'm really excited to see the new episodes. Tell me about the relationships that you've created, because obviously the girls are getting to know you now, they're getting to trust you. And tell us about that journey.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey for me, because I started during COVID. So everyone was wearing masks everywhere. I'm this new face out there, and not only a new face, but you can only see half of my face. So starting out, it was tough, like not even just making relationships with players, but also with my coworkers. Like, everyone was so welcoming, but it's like, it was hard during COVID. Like, you couldn't just go up and you can go up and talk to someone, but it was a little different then. So definitely the last 2 seasons have been really fun. Just kind of, getting to know these players, like, they all have such great stories. And I think that's what I'm really excited to do in my new role, is be able to tell those stories, happy, sad, whatever it may be. Because that's why I watch sports half the time, is because I get invested in a team or a player, whoever it is. So I'm super thankful that these girls are letting me into their world, and hopefully we can just continue to tell their stories, because they're great and they're always so easy to work with. Like, that's one of the things I'm most thankful for working for the LPGA. It's great.
I think these profiles, they change people's opinions on players over the years, and whether like David Farady's show on Golf Channel, and so many players I'm not too fond of that particular player, and you see them profiled for an hour, and you totally change your opinion of that. So no, it's a great role. And I'm wondering, as you is there any players that you were starstruck, when you first came across, in meeting, and maybe got a bit nervous when you had to interview or approach them for the first time?
Yeah, I definitely think meeting all of them for the first time, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I get to work with these professional golfers, the best golfers in the world. But I think probably the most that I was starstruck by and I got to interview was Annika Sorenstam. So that was pretty cool. I kind of last minute was told I was going to interview her for something. And, I'm just like, oh, okay. So I'm prepping, not really even thinking about it. And then I sit down in the chair and I'm like, oh my gosh, this goat is literally sitting in front of me. I'm asking her questions about her history in golf and on the LPGA. So I'd say a lot of players I was starstruck by, but especially her.
Oh, it's really neat. The LPGA, I believe it's headquartered in Daytona Beach in Florida, and the purses are growing finally. Do you see a day where the LPGA matches up with the men's tour? I think this type of exposure is certainly going to help. I think your role as a content creator and as a host is so important in today's profile of the LPGA. Michael Wan did a great job, obviously, with the USGA getting that purse up for the ladies that high. It'd be nice to see those numbers multiply also throughout all the events. I know the girls are kind of disappointed with Mission Hills kind of disappearing off the calendar. Tell me, is some of the tournaments or sponsors that are coming up, anything comes to mind where you're looking forward to working with either sponsors or certain tournaments or going to certain locations?
Yeah, no, there's a lot that I'm excited for this year. And to kind of answer your question about the purses, I think that's like the ultimate goal. I think it continues to get better every single year. And this year we're over 100 millions, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, but it's not quite where we need to be. And that's what we're all fighting for at the LPGA. And that's why I'm thankful to work for a company that I can see change every year and growth. So hopefully we can continue down that path and get to a point where there's equality with the men's purses. That would be great. And leaving Mission Hills, I think some players were sad, but I think a lot of people knew that it was time for a new era. And now it's been sponsored by Chevron for a couple of years. It went from ANA to Chevron, and it's moving to Houston now. And I'm a Texas girl, so I'm personally.
So you're a fan of this move?
Yes, I am a fan, and I loved Mission Hills. That was like my first major I ever went to. I thought it was amazing, but I was excited personally. Like, I'm gonna have a lot of friends and family out there, and it's a super nice course. So hopefully they can blow it out of the water and just make it, even better, get some good crowds out there, and just really make it a good event. So we will see. But yeah, there's a lot on the schedule that I'm excited for. Obviously excited to go to Pebble Beach for the US Women's Open.
Yes.
That would be really, yes. Yeah. Which is like crazy.
It's about time, right?
Yeah. I guess better late than never, like you just kind of have to think about it that way. Sometimes working in women's sports, you're like, hey, it's later, but we're getting the equality now. So it's one way to look at it.
And a lot of it's the setup of the infrastructure of golf events, and where it might be a better idea to start combining PGA and LPGA tournaments and intermix them into the field to share the infrastructure costs and all of that. And there's been a little bit of that, but I think that's low-hanging fruit to bring those purses up and also showcase the LPGA, because like you said earlier, you get attached to players and you watch your players, and so give it a chance for other demographics to see how good the LPGA is. Like the wedge play that they're executing is unbelievable and far better than the men. Because they just throw darts all day. So
all day.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It is.
I think, Mike, if I could just interject, I think part of the issue has been attracting sponsors, because there wasn't enough content creation and the LPGA wasn't getting enough eyeballs on the product itself, if we're going to call it a product. And, this isn't a problem. However, because of the dominance of the Asian players on tour, the value for American sponsors was hard to come by, because you had all these, and there's a bit of a language barrier, right? With the interviews and things of that nature. Not that it's a bad thing. However, you didn't have the American and Canadian stars, but now with Brooke emerging and Nelly and Lexi coming back and Stacey Lewis, being named captain for the Solheim Cup team in 2024, pretty exciting. And I think a lot of the senior women are taking a bigger role in promoting the product and being more involved, more than ever, is certainly helped. Your thoughts on that, Pete?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of my favorite things about working for the LPGA is just the diversity, honestly. Like you look at a player like Inji Chun, who's from Korea, and her biggest fan base is in America. Like it's crazy to think about that, and to see her win like a major last year. The more our team grows and the more content that we can create of these players, the more their names are going to grow, so it's like it kind of goes back and forth, and some of these players are becoming like really big names like as time goes on. So it's really neat to be able to see their brands grow along with ours, because the more their brands grow, the more our grows, ours grows. So it kind of goes back and forth. But yeah, it's really cool that Stacy was named captain too. She's already going to be captain this year of the 2023 team in Spain. And I was actually there in DC when she got announced as captain and everything. So that was cool. We got to tour the Capitol and do a bunch of really neat stuff. But it's awesome to see someone like her who's still playing out on tour. Now she's, going to be the youngest Solheim Cup captain ever. So it's going to be neat to see her step up to the plate. And I think she's already doing a really good job too.
And to your point, Hope, I think it's more of an international field than any other American-based sport league. I'm just looking at the leaderboard right now from the last tournament in Florida at Hilton Grand Vacations, and we've got Brooke Henderson, who's a Canadian. They got Maya Stark, who's Swedish, I believe. Charlie Hull, who's English. Then you got Nelly Corda, obviously American. Nasa Hatawaka, she's Japanese. Paula Reto is, don't know, I think she's South African. But Gabby Lopez from Mexico. I mean, I think I got my point across. I mean, it's so diverse, right?
It's crazy, yeah. It's really cool though too. And then also going to those places, we have an international tour. We have tournaments all over the place. Like this week, we're in Thailand. I went to Thailand and Singapore last year, and it was really cool. And also at the end of our season, we go over to Korea and Japan, and those are like some of our biggest, crowds. Like they love women's golf. Like they are absolute superstars over there.
In Korea, it's like religion. They are mad about it.
And it's awesome. It's so cool to witness. Even in Canada, when Brooke shows up, it's like it's so cool, to witness. So it's awesome to see it grow, and to be able to go to other countries and see, like fans come out and they just want to see them play. So it's awesome.
You think if the major tours, PGA, LPGA, etc., put more time into YouTube and perhaps even went live on YouTube, could help them attract younger demographics in the game? Because, like our generation, Raf and I, we grew up with TV in the house, so we're used to it. And but you go a couple decades younger, and really the kids don't look at YouTube. They only look at YouTube. They don't really watch TV. So what do you think about that?
You're definitely right. I think so. YouTube is something that as our team has grown, we've started to focus on more, because we see the numbers, like when we see it pay off. I think there's a lot of room to grow in not just, streaming capabilities, but also our tee times. I think it gets better every year, but again, has room to grow. And I think that's what's going to continue to attract that younger generation, or even, just being able to post more content on social media in general, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, like whatever it may be. Like that's what's going to grow our younger fan base, which will in turn get more sponsors, get more eyeballs on the product. And it's kind of crazy. It's just like a big snowball. It's like got to grow one thing to grow everything else too. So
definitely. And right now, I think I heard last week there's like 40 billion views a day on YouTube Shorts. Like it's just exploding through the platform. So I think it's, again, just low hanging fruit for all tours to be paying more attention to. And these profiles, short player profiles, it's just a great place for them to exist and be reshared through all the other platforms.
For sure.
Wow. If you're just joining us, we're with Hope Barnett from the LPGA. Yeah, drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. We're now on 18 different audio and video platforms, just starting to grow YouTube a little bit. Certainly give us a like, subscribe, and Hope. The PGA does something called the profile of a golfer. They even do the Champions Tour. Again, with the purses, it just blows my mind. Even the Champions Tour's purses are very similar to the LPGA outside of the US Open. However, let's pivot a little bit. There's something that we do on the show that's kind of fun. We ask some funny or embarrassing moments in golf. So maybe you could tell us something that's happened, the first thing that pops into your head, something that's funny or embarrassing that happened while you were maybe interviewing somebody or you were out playing with a notable golfer or a player. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, immediately, unfortunately. Actually, this year I have two stories. So I've been doing interviews like since I started at the LPGA, but I obviously haven't interviewed every player. So Wei Ling Shi was, I think, leading after the first round at Hilton. And she's great. She's so sweet. And I was interviewing her and it wasn't live or anything. So I kind of like messed up the first couple times. And I had just told her like, hey, by the way, we're starting this new show. You're going to be seeing like a lot more of me post round, stuff like that. And she's like, okay, that's awesome. So I like kind of just like messed up the first two times. And I was like, oh, sorry. Like, we're just going to do that like one more time. And she like patted me on the back. She was like, it's okay. You'll get it eventually. And I was like, she was like, first day on the job. I was like, great. Love that.
Oh, no.
I know, but like, she's so sweet. And we eventually nailed the interview and she was a trooper, but it was really funny. She's great. But, and then recently, like I said, I think I started playing golf probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm still very much an amateur.
Yeah.
And but I enjoy playing. Like I love going out and playing. And I recently got invited to play in like a golf outing for Dundonald Links.
Okay.
And that's in Scotland for one of our tournaments over there. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. My game isn't like the best right now, but I was like, yeah, like, I'm just gonna go play for fun. I had no idea what format this was. I was hoping it was like a scramble, so I didn't have to hit like every shot maybe. And turns out it was it was Stableford, and you play every single shot. And we played at a very tough course in Orlando, and it was just the longest day ever. I definitely had a few beers out there.
Yeah.
Played with Gemma Dryber.
Oh yeah.
So she's great, and she was giving me like tips, but it was really funny. By the end of it, I was like, I need to take a nap. Like I was like, I'm so tired. So
throw your clubs into the water. Like that's enough.
literally.
Yeah,
So
Gemma
fun
Dryborough is great. I got to know her a little bit through that first episode. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you go to lpga.com and click on the first episode. Is the second episode out yet? Or are you guys working on it?
It's on right now. It's living on YouTube and our website, like you said. And our second episode is not out yet. We should have one out probably this month after, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I believe after Drive On. So maybe next month. I'm not really sure. I know that they're going to be coming out regularly, but definitely check it out because it's really cool getting an inside look at these players and kind of what their weeks look like.
So that's what the series is called. It's called Drive On.
It's called LPGA All Access, or it's like Drive On LPGA All Access.
Okay, right.
So yeah, you can find it on YouTube or our website. But yeah, we also, coming in March, I actually will be launching a podcast as well with the LPGA.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, super excited for that. So
we'll tag everything you've mentioned here in the description, so
awesome.
So people can find it and get some eyeballs on it. So
great.
We usually like to ask a couple of short questions too, just for fun. What kind of music gets you going for golf?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not really a big country music person, but I feel like Yeah, but I'm from Texas, so sometimes
Right.
when I'm out on a golf course, I'll listen to some country music, but I think I prefer like throwbacks out on a
Yeah.
golf course. I think that's fun, keeps the mood light. So
And do you like to walk or ride when you play?
ride
And,
100%.
and joggers on the PGA Tour, yes or no?
Yes,
Okay,
All right,
I
great.
think so.
Well,
there we go.
we want our audience to
Important
get to
information.
know our guests, right? It's fun information, right? It's
Yeah.
really cool. Um, one of the last questions I have is, are you guys working with the Epson Tour, the Cactus Tour, the LET Tour? You know, how does that crossover work for content creation and hosting?
Yeah, so LPGA technically like owns Epson Tour. It's,
Mhm.
basically our Corn Ferry of like the PGA Tour. And so yeah, we work together regularly. Those people out on Epson, they are grinders, let me tell you. They'll spend several weeks on the road and also like go follow Epson Tour because those are the stars of the LPGA eventually, and
Mhm.
there's some really great golf out there. And then LET, we have like a joint venture basically. So it's like we have like a partnership. We work together a lot as well because our players will cross over quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, we have events that we'll both be at. For example, our Women's British Open, the AIG Women's Open, we're both there. All our events pretty much in Europe, they're at as well. So we meet regularly and talk about what content is happening. So I think when you work in women's golf and you're trying to grow the game, you have to work together. Like you have to join forces and do the best that you can to kind of, grow the game a little bit more.
Nice, nice. You know, Hope, I'm really thrilled to have you on because I think it's inspirational to other young girls or women to see the spotlight on female players. I don't think it happens enough. We're starting to even get more female guests as well.
Love that.
We had Sarah Winter, who was Miss Canada 2020. She's trying to get onto the LPGA Tour. She's played a few Epson and Cactus Tour events. And so
Awesome.
we really want to push the content creation and see who's involved and what's happening. Is there any notable mentions you want to give us about maybe an event, a sponsor, or something coming our way?
That is a good question. I mean, I think it's going to be pretty big. Just Chevron moving to Houston area.
Right.
I think that's something people should definitely keep their eyes on. Originally it was the same week as Onwa and it was right before the Masters, and now it's going to be afterwards. And I think the Masters, people always kind of catch like, the golf bug again. And
Mhm.
I mean, keep watching golf, like just a couple weeks
Yeah.
after you get to see, more of the best golfers, play a new course and kind of like start a new era. So definitely stay tuned for that. And just in general, I mean, we're going to be coming out with so much more content this year. We have a lot of big plans. So I think just staying tuned on all of our social media channels, you'll see a lot of good stuff coming out.
Awesome. Before I wrap this up, Mike, any last questions or thoughts, Mike?
Thanks for coming on, Hope, and spending a little time with us today. And for anyone who's listening or watching, subscribe, retweet, any engagement would be appreciated. We're live on YouTube now, and as of tomorrow, we'll be posted on all the major podcast platforms. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, Hope, thanks so much. Make sure you tune in, follow Hope on all our social media feeds, follow the LPGA. It's going to be a fantastic journey this year, following all these players. So we wish you all the best, and thanks for coming on for Hope Barnett, Michael Bleakley. I'm Raphael Calamat. You've been watching the Golf Podcast Live, and remember, our merch just came out. So go to our website. TGP merch is available, and you could leave us a message. And until next week, we'll be with Len Matisse from the PGA Tour Champions. We'll see you then. Take care, guys.